My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened to Derek, and why, out of the 4 of us who went into Meridian Point Mall that night, I'm the only one who still remembers what happened inside. At least, I think I do. Meridian Point Mall had been closed for 3 years. The entire building was boarded up, bankrupt, and slowly falling apart beside the highway. It looked less like an abandoned shopping mall, and more like something the town had tried to forget. Kids at school had been telling stories about it since we were freshmen. They said lights sometimes came on inside. They said the old carousel in the center court occasionally played music, even though the power had supposedly been disconnected the day the mall closed. And there was one story everyone knew. A security guard still walked the halls at night. Nobody could agree on what he looked like. But according to the story, if he found you inside after midnight, he would ask you one question. Are you supposed to be here? Derek thought all of it was bullshit. Derek didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in urban legends. And he definitely didn't believe in anything he couldn't prove. So when Marcus dared him to spend one night inside Meridian Point, Derek agreed before Marcus had even finished explaining the challenge. I went because Sarah was going. I wasn't going to let her walk into a condemned mall with just Derek and Marcus. Looking back, I wish I'd let her go alone, because at least then, only one of us would have to live with what happened. We got through a gap in the loading dock fence at around 11 p.m. on a Friday night. The plan was simple: stay until 3 a.m., film everything, leave. Derek had a GoPro strapped to his chest. Marcus had a flashlight taped to a baseball bat, which pretty much summed up Marcus as a person. Sarah had her phone. I had mine. None of us thought we'd actually see anything. That was the part that scares me now. We weren't looking for something supernatural. We were looking for a story to tell at school on Monday. Inside, the mall was worse than I expected. Not because it was immediately terrifying. It was just dead. There were plants still sitting inside concrete planters, completely dried out. A directory board hung near the entrance with half the letters missing. Store, food, cinema. The remaining letters had fallen into random places, spelling words that didn't make sense. Our footsteps echoed through the corridors. Every sound seemed to travel farther than it should. And the silence. The silence felt physical, like pressure against your ears, like being underwater. Then we reached the center court and saw the carousel. It looked exactly like the pictures we'd found online. A faded wooden canopy, chipped horses frozen in the middle of a gallop, paint peeling from their faces, 3 years of dust covering everything. Derek walked straight up to it. He placed his hand on one of the horses. "See?" he said. "Nothing." He looked at us. "It's just an old mall." Then the carousel moved, slowly. One rotation. The gears underneath groaned like something waking up. The horses began rising and falling. No electricity, no music, just the sound of old machinery grinding through the silence. Sarah screamed. Marcus dropped the bat. I couldn't move. Derek stared at it for a few seconds. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. "Hidden generator," he said. He stepped closer. "There's got to be a backup system somewhere." Then the carousel stopped. Derek looked toward the hallway behind it, and for just a second, I thought I saw someone standing there. A man, tall, wearing something dark. I blinked. He was gone. We should have left. Right then. I think about that constantly. If we'd walked out of that mall at 11:30, Derek might still be alive. Instead, Derek became obsessed with finding the generator. He said there had to be an explanation. We argued about leaving. He refused. Eventually, we split up. I know how stupid that sounds. 4 teenagers, a condemned building, almost midnight, and we decided splitting up was a good idea. Derek went toward the old department store at the far end of the mall. The rest of us headed through the opposite corridor. His GoPro was still recording. That was the last time I saw Derek acting like himself. About 15 minutes later, Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from Derek's number. There were only 6 words. "Come to the store with the yellow coat." Marcus laughed. He thought Derek was messing with us. I didn't. There was no yellow coat store in Meridian Point. There wasn't even a clothing store called anything remotely similar. We called him. Once. The phone rang. Twice. Then someone answered. Nobody spoke. We could hear something in the background. Music. Very faint. Slow carousel music. Then the call disconnected. None of us said anything, because all three of us knew the same thing. The carousel was behind us, and Derek was somewhere ahead. We found Derek in the old department store. He was standing in the women's clothing section, completely still, facing a rack. There were dozens of empty hangers, nothing else, except one yellow raincoat. It was bright yellow, clean, dry, brand new. It looked like someone had hung it there minutes earlier. Derek stood about 3 feet away from it. His GoPro was still recording. Derek. He didn't move. I said his name again. Derek. He slowly turned around, and for 1 second, his face looked wrong. Not injured, not disfigured, just wrong. Like someone had taken a photograph of Derek's face and placed it over the face of a person who didn't know how to wear it. His smile came half a second too late. His eyes didn't move with the rest of his face. Then he blinked, and suddenly, he was Derek again, pale, terrified, breathing hard. "We need to leave." That was all he said. I asked him what happened. He looked at the yellow coat, then at me, and whispered, "It was wearing me." We didn't ask what that meant. We ran. All four of us. Straight through the mall, past the carousel, past the empty food court, past the dark storefronts. We didn't stop until we reached the loading dock. Then we got into Marcus's car. Nobody spoke, not even Derek. We drove away, and for the first few minutes, I thought we'd gotten out. We reached my house around 3:40 a.m. Derek didn't come inside. He sat in Marcus's car for almost 10 minutes, just staring through the windshield. I asked him if he was okay. He looked at me and said, "Did you see the man standing behind me?" I hadn't. None of us had. Then Derek got out of the car. He walked home. That was the last normal conversation I ever had with him. For the next 3 days, Derek barely spoke. He stopped answering texts, stopped coming to school. His mother said he locked himself in his room. On the 4th night, she heard him talking, not to anyone, just talking, repeating the same sentence over and over. "I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it." The next morning, Derek was gone. His bedroom window was open. There were no footprints outside, no broken locks, no sign that anyone had entered the house. Police searched for him for 2 weeks. Nothing. No camera footage. No phone activity. No bank transactions. No witnesses. It was like Derek had simply disappeared. After Derek disappeared, none of us were the same. Sarah stopped talking about that night completely. When I mentioned Meridian Point, she would leave the room. Marcus went the opposite direction. He insisted nothing supernatural had happened. He said Derek probably ran away. He said the carousel must have had a backup motor. He said the yellow coat was probably something left behind by construction workers. But 6 months later, Marcus moved away. His parents wouldn't tell anyone why. I only heard what happened from his younger brother. Marcus had started waking up every night at exactly 2:13 a.m. He would walk downstairs, open the front door, and stand outside, just staring at the street. One night, his mother found him standing in the rain, wearing a yellow raincoat. Marcus had never owned one before. A month after Derek disappeared, a maintenance crew entered Meridian Point before demolition. They found something inside the old department store. A GoPro. It was sitting on a clothing rack. Battery completely dead, placed neatly on a single empty hanger. The exact place where we'd seen the yellow raincoat. The camera was eventually returned to Derek's family. They watched the footage. 52 minutes. The first 50 minutes were almost completely normal. Derek walking through empty hallways, calling out for a generator, checking electrical rooms. Nothing. No ghost, no figure, no strange sounds. Then the final 2 minutes began. The camera had been placed on the floor. It was pointed directly at the clothing rack. The yellow raincoat was hanging there. For almost a minute, nothing happened. Then something entered the frame. A person wearing the yellow raincoat. The hood was pulled over its head. It stood in front of the camera, completely still. Then, it slowly turned its head, not its body, just its head, until it was looking directly into the lens. The recording ended, but there was something else. Something the police didn't notice. The GoPro's audio track contained another sound. Very quiet, almost buried underneath the static. A voice. Derek's voice. He was whispering, "That's not me." Then, another voice answered. It sounded exactly like Derek. It said, "Not anymore." Meridian Point was demolished 8 months later. They flattened everything. The carousel, the department store, the food court, everything. Today there's nothing left, just an empty lot beside the highway. I still live in the same town. I don't talk to Sarah anymore. I haven't heard from Marcus in years, and Derek was never found. But sometimes, late at night, I drive past that empty lot and I hear music, very faint, a carousel melody coming from somewhere beneath the ground. The first time I heard it, I stopped my car. The second time, I kept driving, because there is one thing I haven't told anyone. 3 months ago, I received a text. There was no number attached, just 6 words. "Come to the store with the yellow coat." And underneath it was a photograph. A photograph of me, standing inside Meridian Point Mall, wearing a yellow raincoat. The photograph was taken yesterday. So, if you ever drive past an abandoned building and you hear music coming from inside, don't go looking for the source. Don't follow it. And if you see a yellow raincoat hanging somewhere it shouldn't be, leave. Because whatever happened to Derek, I don't think it stayed inside Meridian Point.